Oh, swear to God, this channel's almost becoming an economics channel sometimes. Why don't I talk about the last person alive who, I think she's about 89 now, and she's the only person who still used to live here. Her name's Audrey. Her dad was my grandfather's cousin, or second cousin, or some crap, I can't work it out. Anyway, back in about 2000, one of her direct descendants, grandson, I think, interviewed her about her life during the Depression, and she sent us all like the photos of the property and where her father and whatnot used to, and later my grandfather used to grow the onions on my dad's place next door, and all those different bits and pieces of the house that I'm in here and whatnot. And one of the ones she put in was this one that a grandson had interviewed her about the Depression back in the year 2000. And he inevitably asked what was her experience of the Depression and what was a home life like. And in this house here, and this sort of explains the amount of pens and old sheds and things I'm finding that are collapsed under weeds and whatnot. They used to raise, sheep. They had a couple of cows, a draft horse, and they used to raise pigs. And they used to get have a sow, and there was a boar, like next town down the road, and they take it down there to get it mated, and then they go back a week later and pick it up, and they'd have piglets. Couple of those they'd end up eating, others they'd sell, and of course part of the deal usually was two of them, I think it was two, would always get given back to the bloke who had the boar. And the ones they'd sell, everything basically was centred around, I mean, you want to talk having a clean and green environment and a clean green place. At a small industry local level, I think it actually would be possible. What these greenies are all saying, wouldn't we? Steel smelting and large manufacturing and chemical manufacturing just would not happen. You wouldn't be making electronics. You wouldn't be making, sulfuric acid for deep cycle batteries or anything like that. Not really. But just local little farms and stuff like that, it worked quite well because both of them, everyone here, there's basically two forms of transport that pretty much covered everything. One was a train coming from one city going to the next, and the postal service that I think went with that train, and they could also get on the other one in a second, and the other one was horse and cart. And what they basically do was they'd go and mail order this place in Melbourne, which is the capital in this state, and they'd put all these supplies on a train which would end up hooking up to another and come to the local station, and it was usually on a Wednesday this stuff would all turn up. So they'd go down there on a Wednesday and, sort of say, anything for me? Yep, here you go, this is stuff for you. And it usually take like a week from when they'd send it out, or 2 weeks from when they'd send out the order to when they get it. And that was how they got a lot of their tea and their sugar and stuff like that that they didn't have here. But it was literally steam train and horse and cart. And if you could make horse and cart turn into electric vehicle, or, gasifier ran vehicle, and turn steam train into electric train powered off a geothermal power station, wind power, or maybe, some sort of a wood burning steam train or something like that, it's quite liable that you could sort of bring that back. But in all that, the other one was ducks. They had that many ducks they used to eat. She said, I was sick to death of eating duck. Always ducklings running around, just always. And here we go, bang, more duck for you. Don't be eating duck that often, she's sick of it. Here we go, more of it. That was the attitude towards eating duck. I myself quite like duck, but, you know, I understand that she just about got drowned in the stuff, so she's got sick of it. But when asked about her experience of the depression monetarily, she said, you know, I was only a kid when it happened, but I didn't see any signs of being poor at all, because remember, they were selling pigs and wool and sheep and whatnot to people who did have money. She said we had no worries with money that I could see, and she said the only time I really started noticing the effects of the depression on people was when I went to school and started seeing kids with no shoes, kids with clothes that were, you know, obviously starting to wear out. But primarily she noticed that she had shoes and they didn't. And that was when she saw the effects of it, but she never saw the effects of it until she went to school and saw other kids who were quite obviously quite a bit poorer and hard up financially than her family was. Because they had everything they needed, including that much duck meat. She was sick to death of it. And, you know, the ones that were she used to refer to them as her grandparents, but they were my great-great-grandparents, which sort of just live over down there a bit. She used to go down there, and because they had a river frontage property, they'd go down with buckets. And they had, just above the river, a veggie garden. And they grow a whole heap of tomatoes, heaps of tomatoes during the summer, and lettuces and stuff like that. And on occasion, the father would plant lettuces amongst the onion crop as well. And he'd be out there tending the onion crop, and he'd check out, oh, there's a few that are also, pick them and bring those back. So lettuces and tomato, they weren't hard up for them in the summer, but particularly not at my great-great-grandparents down there, because they had river frontage, and literally they just walk down the bank, get a bucket of water, or fill it up into the straight in from the river into the watering can, and just walk up the bank, water back down the bank, get some more, come back up again, and you know, and that gives them a good veggie garden. But this is the thing, you know, like it was so surprising that she never saw the effects of the depression inside her own family. And on top of that, you know, because they grew everything they needed, but on top of that, they were actually producers. They made more than they needed, and then they had something to sell. Or if there's a monetary collapse, at least they had a couple of pigs they could barter. And by hell, there's quite a bit of meat in a whole pig, you know. Even if it ain't full grown, there's still a fair bit of meat in it. You know, and that was only one of the things. And there's wool and sheep meat and blah, 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 blah. But, yeah. But that's how hard the depression isn't on you when you're living self-sufficiently and you are a producer and you can still afford to, you know, buy in sugar, buy in tea. They even used to buy in all their flour. And, you know, because obviously they might have grown the grain here but didn't have an actual, you know, mill, a grindstone sort of thing to be able to make their own flour. But nowadays, you know, you can get them quite easily, and my mother's actually got one. It's electric though, it's a very big engine on it. And, you know, it's not terribly fast, but hey, it definitely, you know, pours her out. Like, you can get a roll on that thing. But, yeah, you know, it's not that much harder to make ones that are bicycle powered, and I've seen someone on YouTube who appeared on Doomsday Preppers with one. So, yeah. But that's how hard the depression isn't when you are a self-sufficient farmer.